So I'm taking a different approach to how I'm going to speak today because it is later in the day than I typically would record for the first time. But I feel like I'm kind of moving in this like speaking to speak path, and I think that self-correcting is a important thing to keep in mind. And I had this goal of editing what I wanted to share while also sharing thoughts that aren't, typical. Not typical. I'm not saying like, unicorn idea where it's like I started the pilot saying everyone thinks they're a unicorn and everyone is, but everyone also isn't. And that's kind of the all is one. But we have to understand ourselves as individuals before we understand ourselves as one. So it's like everyone's a unicorn, but everyone's also not. And it's kind of a paradoxical kind of statement like that. But anyways, I watch back my videos, as you know, because I've said there's still a hair. Okay. And I don't really want to move in this like vlog direction where it's just like me spouting thoughts that aren't as developed. So I'm gonna try to take a deep breath and change a little bit how I'm doing it. But I do like the spur of the moment kind of thoughts that come up from conversation. So I'm gonna keep that. Today, so we went to collect goods for my mom's birthday. I'm not going to say what it is because if she's watching, which she hasn't been recently, but I don't want to spoil the surprise, but you'll see that on the 10th. So we collected stuff from that, and we being Cho, Bagoo, and me. I noticed that the Supercenter, the Walmart Supercenter we went, which is my second time in my life being there, that we were at, it's kind of akin to like a watering hole where it's like you see all walks of life there, like all types of people, all social classes, all ranges of diversity. It's like it's actually kind of interesting to watch how people just go about and mind their own business because you have to get supplies at a store like that, and it's like everyone needs, sometimes you just need to stop in for a party supplies thing or for a bag of apples or whatever you might choose to get there. But I just think that like people watching at somewhere like a Walmart would be so fun. Like they almost need like a stadium so you can watch them from above. And I actually went to a grocery store or it was like a grocery store mixed with a restaurant where the restaurant was like on the second level and the grocery store was below, and you could like watch the shoppers, and it was actually really fun because the way that people shop says a lot about them, because some people browse, some people this is so odd. This is like a full circle moment because the way I'm describing the shoppers right now, how different personalities come out and how you do the shopping that you go in to do, is exactly like my bee point that I started this whole thing with, where it's like different types of bees harvest honey in different types of harvest pollen in different types of ways to make honey, and the honey reflects like the aromas and the varieties of the flowers in the garden. Sorry, I'm supposed to be tutoring, but I have 3 minutes, so probably not enough time for me, but I'm going to take each minute for what is, and now I'm wasting time. I don't even know about a statement that didn't even make sense, so that was annoying. But yeah, I wanted to say that I'm roasting vegetables right now for the lasagna I'm making tonight. I'm calling it everything but the garden trough lasagna because I put a bunch of veggies. On separate trays I'm roasting mushrooms, carrots, and cauliflower on one tray. Then I'm doing onions, eggplant, zucchini, yellow squash, and garlic on the other tray, just spiced with garlic, basil, dried basil. I know that as you cook herbs, they lose their flavor and fragrance, so it becomes a little more dull. So I will add more, but I'm just roasting it with a little bit of basil, salt and pepper, and olive oil. And then so that's the roasted veggies. I'm gonna make it with cottage cheese for protein and to get that like cheesiness, and I'll mix it with Parmesan, and probably some grated mozzarella, and then a few spices, pecorino romano. I don't have that, but that's pecorino romano and black pepper and pasta and little pasta water and cacio e pepe. Get some shaved Bacardo or whatever that shaved fish is called, and you're in business. That's on something else. That's on a different pasta. It's like spaghetti a la whatever. But yeah, that's all for now. And sure, my video is just being interrupted rudely. But yeah. Okay, zen, breathe. So I've been sitting in silence for like the last like 20 minutes because I feel like I have this idea that so the idea of unity and opposition is one of those ideas that like I find so daunting and so like it's overwhelming how much our lives revolve around like such a simply phrased idea, but it's so complex. And one thing that I was I am thinking about, but I'm not sure exactly what spurred it, is Marvel Comics. So it was initially called Timely Comics, and it was founded in 1939, which if you are versed in your history, you know that that's when the U.S. first joined World War, the U.S. joined World War II in 1941 after Pearl Harbor, but December 13th. But World War II started in 1939. So when the world was at war, Timely Comics was founded by Goodman, I think, and it's interesting because it's like at time of such immense fear and uncertainty, it's when like beacons of hope shine the brightest because of unity and opposition. So things like comics are ways that people could escape the context in the society, or the context in society. No, so I just throw these words. They could escape the reality, not context in society, that was a nation of times of war. So, maybe I'm thinking about this because I mentioned Victory Gardens the other day, like a couple videos ago. But, and I was talking about FDR, so maybe that's why. But I was thinking that like Marvel is one of the most successful film studios ever. It's like Lucasfilm, Marvel, and they were all purchased by Disney. But they were able to create notoriety for their characters that were already known through comics, but they became like world famous through movies because they were able to reach a greater audience. And it's interesting that like it's like Captain America was one of the first Marvel figures that was created. It wasn't the first. I think the first was like Torchman or something, and Submarine or whatever. But he was one of the first characters that was a political response to like Adolf Hitler being the Chancellor of Germany, which is scary because he was the legitimate leader before he overthrew the system. But yeah, so I'm just thinking like right now in our age of like, I talked about this before, but it's like I called it, I didn't call it the age of information. People call it the age of information that we're in. But I said, while we are in the age of information, we're not in the age of understanding. Like all this information is like water around us, but it's because like we're used to it. It's normal to be just subdued with so much knowledge that you have to escape via like scrolling through TikTok. So it's like you escape through even more knowledge to just calm your mind. So I was thinking it's like I'm not sure what I'm thinking, actually. That's hence why I've been sitting in silence for like 20 minutes because I can't articulate it, but something's there, something's percolating under there. But it's like a slow curry, like I was talking yesterday. If you don't know what I'm talking about, watch yesterday's video at the end. So yeah, it's interesting because like we can all sense that people are stressed, and I think it's attributable to this push towards everything has to be for productivity, and it's like this commodification of our world, and people just want to be, even though that sounds like, it almost sounds elitist when you say things like that, like I just want to be, like I just want to be, like maybe not elitist, but it sounds like transcendental hippie. It has a connotation sort of that, but I don't think that that's bad. I think that we're just in a system that we're not designed for. Like we have anxiety because we're in a world where we have so many choices, and like our brains haven't evolved to adapt to the world that we're in. For example, peasants, even just like a couple hundred years ago, would literally spend their entire lives on a farm because the average death was like around the age of 30, and they wouldn't ever leave the farm that they worked on. And it was like 99% of people were workers, and a very small percentage were noblemen or even had access to like knowledge, because reading in the printing press, the Gutenberg printing press, was not invented in the Middle Ages, so there was no way of producing mass forms of media for knowledge, because like monks would write scripts and things like that, but books would be thousands of dollars in today's cash, or today's money, so it's not like the vast majority of people had even time, because it's like it would be a luxury to even just be like sitting around, so it's like I'm not like I don't know, it's just like Aristotle says that philosophizing was the highest achievement of the soul, but he did say that the only reason he was able to do that is because someone else was taking care of things that allowed him to just survive on a base level. So like I talked about the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like his food and water and shelter and things like that were satiated by others, so he was able to achieve this highest level of self through writing and thinking, which most people didn't have the luxury of doing. So it's like in today's society, we're kind of facing challenges that our brains really weren't designed for, and then we're having problems that we don't know how to account for. And I think that I have so many thoughts on this that I'm having a problem articulating it like normal, but it's interesting that like now it's like kind of what I was saying yesterday, actually. We kind of crossed the line, it seems, with the amount of choice and information we have access to. We kind of need to retreat a little bit and just watch what we consume via like our minds, so we don't exhaust ourselves to the point where the only thing we can do is just like mindlessly like watch things as like almost like a meditative retreat, or I don't know. I just basically I'm trying to say that like it feels like we have too much choice and too much like access to things, and the way that we're currently fixing it is by adding more. So like people calm down by like listening to music and watching a movie, and I've talked about this again. It's like we calm down by continuing our stimulation, and I was connecting this to the Marvel thing because it's like it seems like right now we have like an internal struggle, whereas in when Marvel first became popular, there was an external war, but our war seems to be like, obviously the world is has a problem externally as well, but it seems like our war is also internal, and I'm not sure what the beacon of hope would be that would stand out in the way that like Marvel characters stood out as a way of escaping and fantasizing about someone that would come and save you in a time of war, such as Captain America. Those are my thoughts as of right now on this. I didn't come to any conclusion. Similarly, Plato's dialogues don't come to any conclusion, because who knows what the actual answer is. But it's kind of just like a seed of my thoughts as of right now. And I think the best thing that can be done is to continue thinking about, what we can do to make our situation better. Because this stress that I feel like, I always feel stressed in times that I should not be. And that's annoying. And I think I hear Boo. So I'm going to talk to her. But ask her how her hangout was. Hi, Abigail. Those are my thoughts as of right now. Yeah, I know that I'm not alone on this because of things I've said in the past. If I feel it, I assume someone else feels it. But I know that people feel overwhelmed because, like, you see people saying, like, you know, touch grass and whatever. And it's kind of like this, like, return to nature idea, like, that we need to escape our society. And that's where I'm drawing the parallels between escapism. But I don't know what our version of Captain America is. I have, you know, thoughts, obviously, and I actually think that contemplated thought, like what I'm doing right now, is a remedy to overstimulation. Because when you sit down with your thoughts and you kind of like sort through them, I think it helps. It helps to figure out, you know, what's valuable and what's not. Like, if something you're watching, if you're like, what did I even just watch for the last 30 minutes, didn't stimulate anything in you, then it's like, what are you doing? It's just like, it's almost like empty calories. Like, I think like content would be akin to like eating fast food, whereas like reading a book is more like the whole 30 whole food diet or whatever it is. But it's like now that we have so many choices before, so it's almost like, you know, in the so fast food became a thing in like the 50s and 60s, post-war, and I actually am passionate about that, and there's a lot of that I would like to say on that, but it's kind of like with that because like we had all this machinery that was used for war things, and it was being transformed for you know, farm equipment. But anyways, and also to like cereals like were made to it was initially for a bowel cleanse, and it was like a religious thing with the Kellogg's, which is gross, but John Kellogg. But yeah, so like the cereal was fortified, so like the men sent to the draft or whatever would be strong and burly for war or something like that, to keep the nation like well fed, so just in case there was another war. But then I think it became like a capitalistic kind of thing, because you could cheapen the product and use less like real food and stuff it with, you know, dextrose and potato starch and whatever, but you know, like filler ingredients. But anyways, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I don't even remember. It was like empty calories, whole food. I lost my train of thought. Tut mir leid. I don't remember. That's what I get for going on the 100th tangent. Canned food. I was saying it's like 50s. Oh, I don't know. Anyways. Oh yeah. So like in the 50s, you didn't think about, oh, should I have something that's processed or not processed? Like, or sorry, before the 50s, you weren't going to be like, should I have something that's processed? I don't know. I should be healthy today. Because it wasn't an option. So you didn't need to worry about it because like the food was rationed anyways. So now it's like, and then now we have so many forms of like information that it's a new thing that we have to do for ourselves to be like, should I watch something of sustenance or should I not? Because before it was like, you read the newspaper, you listen to the radio, you watch a movie. Like, and now it's like we have so many forms of content, literal content. I know I don't like that word, but I'm actually referring to content. So it's like we have so many streams of possibility that you actually do have to be conscious of what you're consuming in that sense. And I think things like I'm creating where I'm actually putting intention into it and not just like AI slop. I don't like to say words like that because I think it's overused and misused. But like, yeah, so maybe the solution is to be, first of all, aware and cognizant of consumption of media, and secondly, to almost put yourself on like a media diet. Like, I'm only going to watch TikTok, and I said that I was working on this, but I'm only going to watch like content a little bit, and I'm going to try to engage with, books and nature and return to nature, in the sense that you're just removing the options that didn't used to be there anyways, because we don't need all those options. Because it's like, you can only, like, for example, Agatha Christie books, you can only keep track of 4 to 9 things. So she introduces like 15 different characters, and your brain can't keep that on deck. It's like the, in a computer, you can only have so much in your RAM. The rest goes to, whatever the back, you should have asked me 2 years ago about this, because I had to know it for ECE, but it's like, there's only so much on one part of the computer, the rest has to go in the back. I think it's the RAM. It's only so big. It doesn't matter, like, if you have, it can be increased, but the point is, you can only focus on so many things at once. Our human brain is like that. A computer is obviously better, but it's still like that too. So I don't know why we always think it's a good idea to have such option. It's not, because I actually know that when you have more constraint, it increases creativity, because it's like you increase the pressure and you go up. If you have too much, like, lay of the land, then it's like you just get paralysis, it's choice paralysis. So this was a long-winded way of saying, be careful what you consume, in the sense that we now need to be conscious of how we consume information. It's not, so while we have the privilege of having so much information, we now need to have restraint on how it's consumed, because how it's packaged matters. That's what I'm trying to say. I started this whole thing because I don't know what the beacon of hope is that I was referring to, that Marvel characters seem to offer the general public in the face of war. And I was saying our war is kind of internal, and I don't know what that beacon of hope is that stands out even more because of unity and opposition. So it's come full circle finally. But my proposition was, maybe it's just contemplated thought and just talking. It's like returning to our original sense of communication, and that was like grunts and, sensation and things like that. So it's like kind of what I was saying with Aristotle, all knowledge comes from the senses. Maybe the return to the senses is the solution to too much choice. So when you just have thought based on the context around you, and not on anything else, then maybe that's what the solution is. It's not as enticing as a Marvel character, but maybe it could be if it's packaged correctly. So yeah. So I guess a book really can be judged by its cover, because packaging matters. That's what I'm going to stop right now. You can talk. I'm going to stop. I said I was going to stop a while ago, but yeah. Okay. I'm going to go put my lasagna together and then go on a walk with my Poe. If I think of something else, of course I'll record. Bye-bye for now. Kind of. Okay. So Joe and I are on a walk. Here's a little something that's a little less stressful. Not less stressful, but less like heady, like via my last video. Thank you to those who, I always wonder as how I'm perceived when I am recording these as a car walks by. Like, do people think that I'm an influencer? Maybe. Do people think that I'm obsessed with myself? Maybe. I don't know. Anyways, so I asked Cho, I was like, if you could live in a fantasy house, like a house from a movie, whose house would you want? And Cho said Howl's Moving Castle. I'm walking here, car, and recording. Don't interrupt me. Shush. Anyways, what was the question that I pulled my phone? Oh yeah, I told Cho, I said, can you give me, so she chose a Ghibli Howl's Moving Castle, which is based on the book, Diana something, but he chose that, Hayao Miyazaki chose that film because it has anti-war themes, and that's consistent with his own philosophy. Anyways, so he obviously took creative liberty in how he portrayed it too, and he kind of made it his own because she didn't depict it, and the cover art is from him. So, but besides the point, I told her to give me more constraint, because I don't know, like, that's too broad of a task to think about like every fantasy movie I've ever seen and think about their house. Like, I'm gonna have an answer I'm not satisfied with, and that's connected to my previous point that I made in the video about how too much choice actually leads to paralysis, and that's something that I try to limit for myself. So with like the Coco Chanel eggs, where it's like take one thing off the scrambled eggs, which is what I heard on Chopped, and like how I reduced the spicing, and Coco Chanel actually said like look in the mirror before you leave the house and take an accessory off. That's why I say that. But it's kind of like a minimalist, like return, like a simplicity kind of thing. Why do you wave? Hello. Anyways, so I was telling her to give me more constraint so I can have a more creative answer. And I wanted to say how that's connected to what I was saying before, and it's applied to my everyday life, which is me walking with Cho and Doyle today, who is our special guest. So I wanted to say that. I might check back in with what my answer is, but I have to wait to see what her constraint is to inform my creative choice. Okay, that's all for now. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye. Yeah, I know. I wanted to say one more thing. This was funny. When Joe, Bagoo, and I were driving back from our collections for my mom's birthday, there was an 8-year-old or so who was like on his bike, and I was looking at Joe because I wanted to see her reaction to me telling this story, and he was wearing like a helmet and neon whatever and glasses. Oh good, she's laughing. And I was like, I said this out loud, but he clearly didn't hear me. I was like, nerd. And I was like, 4 eyes. Yeah, I was like 4 eyes nerd, like just as like a joke, because he kind of looked like a turtle on a bike. And I was like, who am I to heckle an 8-year-old? Like, why is that my first thought? I was just making sure I didn't hit him. That was actually my first thought, but because I don't want to be responsible for hitting a biker, I was like, you better stop at that stop sign. But and he did, because he's a nerd. Just kidding. But I'm just kidding. Anyways, he was just wearing glasses and a helmet, so I was like, nerd. But the thing is, I was wearing a helmet at that age and much older, because a helmet is super necessary for biking. So I was just joking. Also, I wanted rear view mirrors on my bike as well, and I had a horn. Still have a horn. Still want mirrors, actually. So who's really the bigger nerd? Is it me or him? But you. Me or him? He or me? You. Me or him? Me, Po? Okay. Well, anyways, I just wanted to say that I was holding myself accountable for... No, I wasn't. I just wanted to tell that story. Okay, that's all for now. And her constraints are it has to be animated and made before the 2000s. So I'm thinking right now. I didn't forget, clearly. Elephant never forgets.
Okay. I'm quoting Zootopia, and I think that proves my nerd point.
That wasn't... An elephant never forgets.
That's what she says, and then the elephant is like dumb as a rock. Like,
oh yeah, no, that's why no, it's the guy who's like, I wish I had a brain like Mongi or whatever her name is, and it's the wildebeest. That's what it is. Not the is it the wildebeest? You know, no, the wildebeest are the things. They're the people of the city, because when the people who were writing Zootopia went on an exploratory trip, they noticed that the wildebeest are kind of like the everyday people. That's why they made them there. So the wildebeest actually represent the human size of the animals. Oh, what's funny, they do. They represent the human size, because the thing that's really interesting about Zootopia is that the movie is actually made to scale. So like the bunny is representative of real scale to a fox, to a giraffe. That's why the camera movement is so impressive. As well as the size of the props. So yeah, anyways, the business people are the wildebeests. I can't remember, what's the guy with what kind of animal is he?
I thought he was a llama.
No, he's not a freaking llama. He's not a llama. I don't know what he is, I forget. He's a yak. He's a yak.
Same thing.
No, not same thing. The llamas are that's Judy from the bank. Judith from the bank. That's from Sing. That's Sing. That's Universal. It's not even freaking Disney. Cho. God. I'm surrounded by idiots. I'm just kidding. My Cho is very smart. Yeah. That's a blue tick coonhound. I know those dogs anywhere. That's what Magnus is. And I have seen enough of those dogs for my entire life. Okay, that's all for now. Actually, probably not, but you know. Okay, bye-bye. So, Cho has convinced me that I have now decided to concur with Cho's opinion about the best house to live in. An animated film pre-2000s is Howl's Moving Castle, because she brought up the really compelling point that the house changes with you and that it can reflect a change in personality and heart. Well, that was actually my point, but she did say it changes with you. And because calcifer is the heart that fuels the power of the house, that it does change with you, and it isn't stagnant. So that is a really good quality of a house, I guess. I know. So why are you going around? Okay, I'm gonna go in this way. Anyways, so I just want to say my answer is Howl's Moving Castle. Thanks to Poe. Okay. I'm gonna go in. I think the lasagna is almost done, so you'll see that, and then I'm sure I'll have more thoughts, and then that's all for today, I guess. Okay, bye bye. One other quick thing. I just came in the house literally, and I love smelling the dinner that I made. It wafted through the door. It's a cool sensation that I love and appreciate. So yeah, that's my note. I'm holding myself accountable for real though this time, where I notice the senses around me and appreciate them. And I do that anyways, but just also stating it makes it more present at the front of my mind, because I'm actually saying that I notice the smells. Oh, and now my Poe's joining. Okay, bye-bye for now. This is mother. This is my everything but the garden trough. That's what I'm calling it. Lasagna. I roasted veggies. I said I did carrots, onions, garlic. I know it's fruit, but carrots. Well, that is a veggie. Carrot, onion, garlic. I did zucchini, eggplant, yellow squash, mushroom, and then for the cheese base, I did spices. I did oregano, basil, a little thyme. And I did Parmesan mixed with cottage cheese. And then I did some feta cheese and mozzarella as well in the mix. I did marinara sauce as well. Here's the lasagna. It has to coagulate, I guess. I don't know what the word is when it sits for like 10 minutes, but yeah, that's it's topped with fresh oregano, dried oregano, but freshly topped with dried oregano. I think that's all. Anyways, I'll update about what they think, but I wanted to say that. Okay, that's all. This is what I was saying I was smelling, by the way. One more thing I wanted to say about the topic that I've kind of focused today's discussion on, and it's about how I've been saying like to reduce the amount of content that we consume. But when I say that, I'm specifically referring to content. I still think that it's really important to not close yourself off to information, and to ensure that the information that we are engaging with is diverse, and that we're not engaging with like knowingly or unknowingly engaging with echo chambers that just reinforce what we already believe, because then you can't make progress if you don't ever expose yourself to new ideas and new inspiration. But it's really hard to do when again you don't know what you don't know, with the Mano paradox thing that I've talked about multiple times. But yeah, so that's why it's important to engage with different types of people and different types of experiences, and put yourself in the uncomfortable, because if you're comfortable for too long, then it's like you get stuck in your ways. And for me, like, that is a task in itself, because like I don't even like when I'm watching a show for a couple days or weeks, when I'm like if I'm trying to calm down, and I'm always like, I always turn on like X movie or X show or whatever, like that I think is, not saying it's okay just because I do it, but I think like that's not really what I'm talking about. It's more like mindless engagement, and then thinking that you are learning things. So like when people are like, I actually learned from TikTok, and I'm not saying that you can't, but it's like, that's fine, but like make sure to engage with almost like, it's almost like you can, like I said this in my senior thesis, but it's like you can eat a pizza and get sustenance from the tomato sauce, but there's also something to be said about having a full tomato, like a real tomato. And I know that that can have some like privileged connotations as well, because it's like, well, not everyone can afford a tomato, and the pizza's the only thing that we can have right now. And again, that's fine, context, but like, just, yeah, to keep that in mind. And I know, because it's, again, a time thing, like it takes more time to read a book. It takes less time to engage with a 1-minute short video. I get that, and people are busy, but I think it's important to make time for things in our lives that matter, and that is to learn, because to learn means to live better, at least from my point of view. Because that's the whole point of studying philosophy, is to live a good life, to live a better life. So I'm going to end with that now. But the reason I wanted to say that is because I was thinking about how, like, sometimes if I'm like watching a movie continuously, and then you don't see it for a really long time, and then you have fresh thoughts, like, you wouldn't have had those fresh thoughts if you hadn't engaged with new information, or different information. If you're always watching the same thing or always engaging with the same people, how can you ever hope to expose yourself to something new and to learn and improve for the better? So answer is you can't. You have to change it up. Similarly, you don't do the same exercise on the treadmill every day because you'd tire out those muscles and you wouldn't work the other ones. Same thing, same philosophy behind cross training. So if that analogy helps you, good. Another thing is, like, if you have the same food every day, like, the same ice cream doesn't taste as good if you eat the exact same flavor every single day. Like, imagine if you hadn't had it for years and years. Maybe it would taste euphoric, I don't know. Or listening to the same song over and over and over again. You can't really reach that peak high that you did when you first heard it. So I guess the same thing works with drugs. It's like people chase that high. So yeah, maybe that's what I should call information high today. Like, chase that information high where you learn something new and you feel excited about what your possibilities are. Kind of like runner's high. Like, it makes you feel like you're engaged with the world and that you can keep going and keep reading and keep learning. So maybe that's the goal, maybe to reach an information high. Like, you know, when you learn something, or you go to, maybe this is not just me again, but like, if you go to class and you really feel satiated by the material that you learned, you're like, wow, that was a productive, like, I feel like I made movement in my head, like the gray space or gray matter increased. If that's, I don't know if that's a myth or not, but whatever. But yeah, it's kind of like I felt those neurons that never talked to each other, they connected today. Or you can't feel that, but like, I'm just saying. But yeah, it's almost like an enlightenment kind of sensation that I think you can get if you engage with the right information at the right time. And I think people should be chasing that instead of chasing a sort of like numbness in your mind that seems to just emerge from engaging with content instead of actual information that's worthwhile. Clearly I'm biased because that's why I make these videos, so people have content, because I think there's value in engaging with not fully perfected, but just like definitely thought out thought or considered thought, or just discussion in general as well. Because like, the beauty about this is that you guys know it's not AI or it's not fake, because I'm talking to my screen and I'm making mistakes and I'm actively, self-correcting and adjusting what I do and how I present the videos and the titles I give it and, what I say in the moment. So yeah, maybe the new form is like living in the moment, learning from each other instead of engaging with books. Maybe that's the new form, because we have the ability to live the way that Plato would have wanted us to engage in dialogue, and that engage in philosophy, and that's through dialogue. And we can do it anywhere across the world with anyone that we choose, as long as we have a form of connection. And that can be done via phone, via tablet, via anything. It's just through the Wi-Fi and the Ethernet or whatever. But anyways, that's all for now. I'm going to end it here, and I hope today's conversation was worthwhile. So yeah, that's all for now. Bye-bye. Actually, one more thing. Something I think I didn't fully give the proper amount of thought to is the power of a comfort show or comfort movie. And I know I discussed that briefly just at the end, but I do think that there is value in comfort shows and movies, because that, like, a familiar context, like, it is it does relieve anxiety because you know what's going to happen, you know the characters, and it feels like home, like it's like comforting, hence the name comfort show, comfort movie. So that is kind of in that weird gray space. The content that I'm talking about, and I mean what I say when I say content, are things that we engage with mindlessly. Comfort shows are things that you engage with intentionally to calm yourself. And I know that people do that through scrolling because it seems like you become like sucked into your phone and it becomes soothing in a sense. But that's where I'm distinguishing between. So like intentionally engaging with an environment where you know is going to happen is different than mindlessly scrolling, because mindlessly scrolling is still stimulation. It's like uncontrolled stimulation because you don't know what you're scrolling on or to. But like a comfort show, you're engaging with as a comfort show because you know the environment, you know the characters, you know, so things like that. So yeah, that's kind of out of what I'm talking about when I say like an information kind of high, like changing the information we engage with. It's like the information we engage with when we have the intention of trying to better ourselves and to learn, which I think that we should all take the time to do, in the same way that you take the time to exercise. So like, even though it's hard work and it's like, sometimes it feels like Sisyphus rolling the ball up the hill, it's necessary to do for yourself, but also for society. It's like a societal duty to be informed. Like it's a good citizen trait to be engaged with your other fellow citizens, because how can you expect to, adequately interact with the world if you aren't equipped with the knowledge to do so? So this is also, I guess, a point for education, like free education. I don't know, but I'm sure there's more stuff that can be derived from that comment. And I'd say loaded statement, and it's kind of like a can of worms at the end of the day. But food for thought, snack for treats. Snack. I don't know what that was supposed to mean, but yeah, I wanted to mention the comfort show thing because I surely believe in comfort shows, believe in and utilize. Hence why I've seen certain shows and movies countless times. But I just wanted to make sure that, because if I were listening to that for the first time, what I said, I would be like, wait, what about a comfort show? Like you're saying you don't have a comfort show? That's hypocritical, but I do. And I'm not saying that just because I do it, I think it's right. Like I was saying before, there are many things that I do that I should change, and I try to show those on here, phenomenology. But I can only show what I show, and what I don't show is not part of my truth, even if it should be, because aletheia is the truth that we find by uncovering. So you just I disclose my truth more as I speak. So it's like I try to not only disclose my own truth more, but I speak so I can expose the truth around me. That's one of my like whys, I guess. Like speaking out my thoughts helps me understand the world better, so hopefully I can be better in the world, so I can be a better person, a better neighbor, a better friend, a better sister, etc. So that's all for now. I'm more happy with what I've produced today, even though not everything's about production, and I'm trying not to get stuck in the semantics of what I say, and neither should you, because I'm trying to speak out my thoughts, and naturally speaking out my thoughts means that I can't edit them, even though I can try to edit them in real time. But yeah, so we are our mistakes as well, and that's okay. My popcorn's almost done, so I'm gonna stop it here, but that's all for now. Okay, bye-bye. Air popped. Orville Redenbacher.